You no doubt have been in situations where you feel like the world is just stacked against you. You've had a dream, a calling, but the weight of what it would take to get there made your stomach drop. You've asked the question, how do I even start? That's where a college dropout named Jan Quam found himself. He grew up in a small village in Ukraine, raised by a single mom, where they shared a 2-bedroom apartment with no hot water. When they immigrated to America, they lived off food stamps. Quam worked as a janitor to survive, but he had an idea. He wanted to build a messaging app that respected privacy and had no ads. Crazy, right? Especially when you're broke. But Jan didn't start right off with coding. He sat down and developed a plan. He began to read books on infrastructure and studied how servers handled traffic and asked the hard questions. Of course, one of those questions was, can I actually do this? And what will it cost me? Then when the time came, he didn't try to do it all by himself. He pulled in a friend from Yahoo named Brian Acton, and together they built WhatsApp. You've heard of it, right? An app that later sold to Facebook for $19 billion. But here's what's easy to miss in that headline. Before there was victory, there was frustration. Before there was success, there was sacrifice. And before there was a platform, there was a plan. You felt what Jan felt. Overwhelmed, undervalued, questioning whether the vision in your heart could actually become something real.
You're listening to The View Podcast with Benji Buck.
Have you read the story of Nehemiah? He's no different. God gave him a burden, a vision, a calling, not to build an app, but to rebuild a wall, to restore what had been broken, to defend a people who had been hurt and scattered. And just like you, Nehemiah faced that moment of, what now? But Nehemiah didn't rush. He didn't panic. He planned. Nehemiah started with a plan before he ever laid a single brick. He counted the cost. He surveyed the land. He thought strategically. He knew rebuilding wasn't about hype. It was about commitment. And that's where some of us miss it. We post the dream before we've built the discipline. We want the reward without the responsibility. But Nehemiah teaches us, if you want to change the culture around you, you better have a plan. So part of this plan was for Nehemiah to build a team and delegate the tasks. You see, he knew that he wasn't built to go at it alone, and neither were you. He pulled his family members, he pulled other families, he pulled together priests and craftsmen, everyone. He called everyone to take a section of the wall. You've been there. You've tried to carry the burden by yourself. But God didn't call you to burn out. He called you to build with a team, with people who believe in the same mission. Now, in his work, he had to guard against distractions. And this was big for us. Because the moment Nehemiah started building, the enemy started shouting. There's these two guys in the book of Nehemiah named Sanballat and Tobiah, and they mocked him. They even threatened him, tried to pull him into endless arguments. Sound familiar? You've heard the noise too. You're not good enough. You're never going to change anything. But Nehemiah refused to come down from the wall. He literally said, I'm doing a great work here, and I can't come down right now. Some of you need to write that verse down and make it your lock screen, because the enemy isn't always loud. Sometimes it just wants you to be distracted. God has not called you to fit in. He's called you to build. But building won't happen by accident. You'll need a plan. You'll need a team. You'll need to keep your eyes on the mission, even when the culture tries to pull you off the wall. And here's the hope. If God could use a cupbearer named Nehemiah, if a janitor from Ukraine can create a monster platform that later sells for $19 billion, then God can use you right now, right here, to change the world. The world's loud, the pressure's real. But if you've counted the cost, built your team, and locked in on the mission, then don't crawl. Don't stall. Stand tall and build your wall.
Thanks for joining us, and be sure to subscribe to the Few Podcast.